All right, Alex, in Las Vegas, this video isn't almost fair. Come on, how to beat the house? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about the 457? What are really some of the issues that we have here in Las Vegas? At what age are people retiring here inside the plans?
I'm almost afraid to say because all my other clients will hear it and they'll all move to Vegas and want to be police officers here. I see a lot of police officers retiring in their 40s. Sometimes in their early 50s. Once in a while it's later. But predominantly the officers here retire really, really early just because they have a magnificent pension plan and they're typically good savers. But there's a lot of pitfalls because they are retiring so early that their issues are uncommon to other police officers.
So are there 457 plans under the same kind of tax laws that the regular folks, independent folks out in the regular world are? You retire in your 40s and I can't access my money until 59 and a half?
It's different because they operate under the same laws. They contribute just like any other police officer across the country. The only difference is they're retiring early and they have limited access, to their funds. They avoid the 10% penalty because they're peace officers, but they still pay taxes, on their money. They don't really know what their options are. Do I leave it there? Do I move it? What are the consequences of doing that? Most of the time they go into a second career. What are the tax consequences with that? So Las Vegas is a different animal, unlike all my other clients.
Well, then when they retire, why don't they just roll out completely their 457 into independent management?
Because they go from avoiding the 10% penalty into now they're complying with the 10% penalty. So it's a double-edged sword because they can access their money and avoid the 10% penalty. But as an advisor, I'd love to manage their money, but you have to weigh the pros and the cons of, do I move this money and put my client in a position where they may have to pay that 10%, or do I do what's right and allow them to leave it there and avoid it, or do we do a combination of both? So it all depends on the individual situation, for the officer.
Is the 457 in Las Vegas, is it robust? Is it strong enough? Does it offer a lot of options for somebody to be invested in it for 30 years?
That's really subjective. The 457 in Las Vegas only has 12 options, which I don't think meets the criteria of
No,
robust.
what I'm looking for, yeah.
And then I think either 9 or 10 of the options are target date funds, which even lessens that robustness of criteria. So there's so many other different ways that they probably can invest their money. Most of my clients that are in Las Vegas, they don't contribute their money to the 457
because they're retiring so young.
They're retiring so young, and there's other investment options that are available that they have liquidity. They don't have any age restriction. There's no penalties other than putting the money in the 457. But they don't know about those options because when they become police officers, they're told contribute to your 457, and they typically have the yes or no sir type of mentality.
Okay, I've got a question, then a follow-up question. If you don't mind, be honest with me. On average, just give me kind of a ballpark. When you see people who have saved into this 457 in Las Vegas, about how large are the accounts? What number are we kind of talking?
I think they're between probably 150 and 500,000.
Okay, all right. So somewhere in that ballpark. So then, are you saying if the fund choices aren't that robust, and target date funds in 2022 had the worst year in 4 decades because both stocks and bonds went down at the same time, rising interest rates. So what do we do then if we've got, let's just call it 300,000, I'll call it in the middle, 300,000 in a 457 here in Las Vegas? Should we maybe roll some of this out? Do we do all or nothing? I think a lot of folks think of their life savings as one lump sum.
No, you're right. They do. They think of all or none. And I think it's coming up with a compromise that satisfies the comfort level of your client. So, some of it, half of it, a third of it. Sometimes it's all of it, and you implement a Roth conversion strategy if they know they're not going to have to use that money. I think there's always a compromise, but you have to have the discussion with your client to know what's most appropriate for them, what do they feel comfortable with, what's their investment experience, what type of investments are they looking for. I think that all comes into play, but I can't help them unless we sit down and have that very frank, honest, conversation. Because would I love to manage all their money? Absolutely. Let's do what's best, for the client, but I can't do that unless I have that honest conversation with them.
And the way that you're registered at Spectrum Advisory Group is that you're kind of like a doctor. When you give advice, it has to be with their best interest in mind.
Absolutely.
Folks, if you would like to figure out what to do exactly with your 457, your deferred compensation plan for right here in Las Vegas, you want to speak with an independent financial advisor who has your best interest in mind. Somebody who's going to be with you all the way through retirement for you, your spouse, and your family. Come up with an investment plan that matches your goals and objectives. If that sounds interesting to you, click on the link below or call the phone number you see right here.